The Pilot Custom Heritage 92 is a compact cigar-shaped fountain pen and the only piston filler that Pilot makes. It's currently offered in gray, clear, and the blue version that we have here today, but it's also been offered in a few special editions as well over the years. The bottom finial is made out of a contrasting gray color, and it's flat at the bottom. The top finial also is made out of that same gray material, and it's flat with a slight ridge around it. It has a profile with a little bubble in the middle, and it's separated from the cap with a single band. We then have a bent metal clip, which is springy and functional. The cap has a tapering profile down to a single cap band, which reads Custom Heritage 92 Pilot Japan. There's then a little bit of exposed plastic and a step down to the barrel. The cap comes off in 1.5 turns to reveal a rhodium plated gold nib. It says Pilot 14K585, denoting a 58.5% gold content, 5 for the size of the nib. Note that this is not a standard 5, but a Pilot number 5. M for medium, and on the bottom corner we can see a date code. And on the back we have a Pilot gray plastic feed, which has an inlet up near the tip of the nib. The section is made out of the same gray material that we saw in the finials, and it starts with a flare-up, and then it has a slight hourglass shape, followed by a metal band that transitions to the barrel. The barrel starts with threads, which are smooth to the touch, and then it's straight all the way back to a metal band followed by the end finial. And if we give the end finial a twist, we can see that it doubles as a piston knob. The piston moves smoothly and extends all the way down to the grip section. In the hand, the pen is very well balanced and has decent heft due to that piston filling mechanism. It's comfortable for short notes, and if you have smaller hands, you could also use it for long writing sessions. The section is a little bit short. I do find that I rest my thumb on the threads, but as I mentioned, they are very smooth to the touch. And the section is also maybe a little bit narrow, so be wary of that if you have larger hands. But luckily, the cap posts deeply and very securely. It slightly transfers the weight towards the back of the pen, but it's an extremely nice posting experience, and I personally prefer holding this pen when it's posted. Also, it posts so securely that it does not pose a risk of moving that piston knob. In terms of size comparisons, here's the Pilot Custom Heritage 92, a typical G2 rollerball pen, and your standard Sharpie. Before we get into the disassembly of the Custom Heritage 92, I wanted to take a moment here to compare it with a few other fountain pens. Up top, we have the Lamy 2000, which is another piston filling fountain pen. The Lamy 2000 is made out of a brushed macrolon finish with a stainless steel hardware. And down below we have the Pilot Custom 74, which is a cartridge converter fountain pen. And we can see in its cap form the 74 is fairly longer than the 92, and the 92 is just a little bit shorter than the Lamy 2000. Of the three, the 74 is the only one that has rounded finials, and the Lamy 2000 is the only one that has a spring-loaded clip. Let's take a look at these pens with their caps removed. The Lamy 2000 is the only one that has a pull-off cap, and uncapped, the 92 is the shortest pen, followed closely by the Lamy 2000, and then the 74 is significantly longer than the 92. It's interesting to note when the pens are uncapped, I don't find the Lamy 2000 very short in the hand like I do on the 92, and I think that's because the Lamy 2000 has a semi-hooded nib with a grip section that accommodates many different styles, whereas the 92 has a more traditional grip section that's a little bit more restricting. Let's take a closer look at these nibs. All three pens have nibs that are 14 karat gold. As I mentioned, the Lamy 2000 is the only one with a semi-hooded nib, and the two Pilots share the exact same nib, a number 5 14 karat gold. The 92 I have in a medium, and the 74 I have in a soft medium. Let's take a look at these pens with their caps posted. All caps post deeply and securely. The Lamy 2000 is the shortest when it's posted, followed by the 92, and the longest pen when it's posted is the Custom 74. In order to disassemble the Custom Heritage 92, you are going to need some grippy materials and a wrench. And I found that this multi-tool Asvine wrench actually fits it pretty well. So I'll be sure to leave a link in the description below for both of these items. The cap unscrews, and inside we can see there is a plastic cap liner, but that's friction fit and held in place by these ribs that are just in front of it. So I don't recommend removing this, and if you need to clean it, I would just run this under warm water. Next, we'll remove the nib and feed. Grab your grippy materials and place one finger underneath the fins and one over the nib and give it a pull. At this point, both of these are removed and can easily come apart. And then for the section itself, it does appear that you could unscrew this. However, mine is really tight, and I think it might be held together with adhesive. So in order to avoid cracking it, I'm leaving this in place. And if you need to do a quick cleaning, you can easily fit a blunt needle syringe through that hole. Next, we can remove the piston unit. Unscrew the back piston knob. Doing so reveals two flats, which we can grab a hold of with our Asvine wrench. And I do want to note, I think that it's great that Pilot decided to make these flats a metal unit. That way it should be quite durable. We'll go ahead and give that a counterclockwise turn. Pretty soon the barrel will come out. And then we have our piston unit. For regular maintenance, I don't recommend disassembling this any further. I would just add silicone grease to the head of the piston as well as the threads for smooth operation. But if you want, you can disassemble this further. Continue twisting the piston knob, and soon the piston itself will come out, followed by the knob. And then there's also a key, and then our connector piece. And at this point, the pen is fully disassembled. To reassemble, I'm going to start with the piston unit. We'll grab our connector piece and our key and slide that in. We'll then attach our piston head, give that a few twists, followed by our piston rod. If we look towards the bottom of the piston rod, we can see that there is a space where there isn't any threads, and that's to act as a hard stop when you're assembling this. Let me go ahead and give it a screw down. And what we're looking for is for that hard stop to come up to this back flange when the piston head is lined up with this ridge. That actually looks just about perfect, so I'm going to go ahead and stop there. We'll then place this unit into our barrel. We'll back it off a little bit so we can tighten it down. I will note that I am quite lucky in being able to get that lined up the first time. Usually it will take a few extra tries to get that piston unit lined up so that both the piston is retracted when the head is all the way down. Perfect. We'll then take our nib and feed. The feed has two little recesses which the nib hugs, and that holds the nib in place with the proper alignment. Perfect. And then we'll put that back into our grip section, and that can be placed in any orientation. There isn't any key. We'll then put our cap back on, and we're ready to write. Filling up the Custom Heritage 92, today I selected Diamine Blue Velvet, which has become one of my favorite blue inks. It's very vibrant and well saturated. Take the cap off the bottle and the pen. Make sure the piston is extended all the way down. Submerge the pen into the ink and screw up the piston. In order to get a full fill, I'm going to extend the piston one more time and then draw it back up. That looks like a nice full fill. I'm going to stop there. We'll wipe off the excess ink. Cap up our pen. And our bottle. And now we're ready to write. Okay, writing with the Pilot Custom Heritage 92, cap unscrews, and I am going to post it. And today we are writing with a 14 karat gold medium nib. And this is an exceptionally tuned nib. It's smooth, it's wet, it's got a nice amount of bounce, just a real joy to write with. Our ink. Is diamine. Blue velvet. For flex, I'm going to turn the page. Not a flex nib, but you can push out a little bit of line variation. And for reverse writing. Very scratchy. The feed actually dries up a little bit, and you can feel the nib kind of tearing up the page. So not a good reverse writer. If you want to get some line variation with this pen, go light or go a little bit heavy. So what do I think of the Pilot Custom Heritage 92? I really like this pen. I think that the piston filling mechanism is excellent. It's a very smooth and reliable system. It's a very comfortable pen in the hand, though it is a little bit short. So I think if you have medium or larger hands, you are going to want to post it. And luckily it posts really deeply and beautifully. It's an extremely secure posting cap. The nib, as I mentioned, is exceptionally tuned. This is one of my favorite gold nibs, and it's a very reliable writer. Is this the perfect pen? No, I think there's certainly room for improvement, and I'll go over some of those right now. As I mentioned, this pen is offered in a few different colors. I have it in blue, but it's also available in clear and gray when I'm recording this video. And while I really like the fact that it's offered in these different colors, I don't really like the contrasting look of these light gray finials and section. I think with this blue, it's a little bit out of sorts. And unfortunately, if you go for the gray model, even that color doesn't quite match the barrel. As I mentioned, I think that the nib is an exceptional nib. It's one of my favorites to write with. But this nib is the exact same size that's used on the Custom 74 as well as the Custom Heritage 91. And both of those models are offered with a huge variety of nib grinds. But for some reason, Pilot decided to limit this model to only a few options. And that kind of confuses me. But I guess the silver lining is if you do have one of those other models, you can easily swap that nib into this unit. Also, as I mentioned, it is a smaller pen. If you have medium or larger hands, it may not be the most comfortable to use when it's not posted. But on top of that, the grip section is also pretty short and fairly thin. So larger fingers may not find this the most comfortable. And then lastly, probably my biggest issue with this pen is the fact that piston filling fountain pens are extremely popular, especially right now on the market. And I wish that Pilot would consider expanding their offerings to not just this model. I think it would be wise to introduce a larger version, maybe something similar to the Custom Heritage 912. That would appeal to people who want maybe more of an upscale pen, or they just have larger hands and that would fit them better. But I also think that Pilot should consider maybe offering this pen with a stainless steel nib and getting below that $100 price bracket. That would really open up this pen to a huge market. But with all that being said, it's an extremely well engineered pen, a very comfortable pen in the hand, for me especially when you post it. And the nib is exceptionally tuned, a great writer, and a real joy to have in my collection. And that just leaves me to say, thank you for watching.